Welcome to the Love Government. I'm Dennis Leary. We are doing a series of talks entitled Sex Lover, and this will be the fourth in this series. We're talking about sex in a context of love, and we've been talking about the beautiful center of love, which was the woman of the love culture. And then we are looking at who she is and what she is like. We're talking about the body of the lover, which would have been the center of their focus and the center of their stories, the center of their life. And then they would reenact these things, kind of like we're doing. We're talking about it, telling stories about it in a modern way. We're talking about the center of the woman, and that is her clitoris, which is being rediscovered today through modern technology and through feminist studies and experiences and sharings. There's a drawing of the clitoris behind me over here, and the clitoris is the pink part of the picture, and it looks like there's a small head at the top. That's the head of the clitoris, and it's visible in the vulva. It's a little bump, a little heel, a little nub, a little button. There's all kinds of ways to describe it. And then what is invisible is the body of the clitoris, because it's hidden behind the white part there of the vulva. It's under the skin of the vulva, in other words. And then, but coming out on the sides, you can see the two arms, and then there's two legs, and these are called nymphae in one version, or crurae in another, and the bulbs are called, they're the legs. Anyway, it has 5 extensions, like the hand does, and like the human body does: head, 2 arms, 2 legs. The clitoris has 5 extensions. This shows the coordinated relationships that are linked together in the body. There are many, many of those. Therapists, like acupuncturists and so on, they treat one part of the body, and then that affects the whole. It's the holistic system. Homeopathy does the same thing. Take a very small part, and then that has an effect on the whole system. In our day, it's going on right now as we speak, the clitoris is being looked at very closely, especially by a few men, but mostly women, because they're discovering a whole lost part of her story that was the most vital part. The clitoris then is the organ designed for pleasure, and that means the culture was based on pleasure. It isn't based, like ours is today, on money, power, pain, terror, torture, expropriation, slave labor, all kinds of things like that. It was entirely different. It was pleasure, joy, happiness, and the good of the whole community. And this was represented then by the pleasure that they received. In the sexual rituals, where the clitoris would have been purposely stimulated in a way to bring forth and evoke the pleasure. You know, the greater the pleasure you could have, the greater esteem you had in the eyes of the community. There are 2 areas there that are kind of like orange color, and the center of it, that's the urethra, and then the lower part of the vulva is the vagina. So you got those three capacities in the vulva, and they're all sexual, of course. The clitoris is stimulated mainly to cause orgasm, and the vagina, of course, is for reproduction, but also for sexual pleasure. The urethra is the organ of ejaculation. When the woman goes into lovemaking and is stimulated and aroused, the clitoris changes. It comes alive. It is engorged with blood, and it has all of these nerve endings, like 8,000 or something, and they kick in, and then they affect all the other nerve endings. They go up into the uterus, probably all the way up to the brain, probably, but around the vagina, and the clitoris then spasms as the arms and the legs hug the vagina, and they hug the urethra, and they cause the spasming. They cause the climax, the arousal, and the ejaculation. Clitoris and other organs and glands, they all contribute to this magnificent process. And the vagina is involved also. They can show pictures with MRIs or whatever of all the changes that take place in the act of sex. The uterus changes shape, and even the uterus, and our organs all come in. It's a great dance, a great pleasurable dance. The love culture people knew this intuitively, but they didn't have like the pictures we do, because they were sensitive to their bodies like we are not so much. We've been desensitized. They probably had like 100 words for sex. Like we have one, They have 100 words for sex. Kind of like the Eskimos. They have snow all around them, so they have like 40 words for snow. But your language is built up around your most important experiences. So in the love culture, sex was their most important experience. The clitoris then can be stimulated in various ways. The head of the clitoris can be rubbed and touched and stimulated, and then the body of the clitoris can be stimulated through the vulva, through the roof of the vulva. That's where you get all the spots, the love spots, the G spot and the D spot and whatever spots they got. But it's all touching that clitoris through the top of through the vulva or through the top of the vagina. So when the orgasm comes and the ejaculation, the whole thing spasms. The arms and the legs hug or spasm, and you get this vibration, which is a natural phenomenon throughout all of nature. You get this phenomenon of a wave like this. This is a wave, or it goes like this, up like this is a wave motion, and this is coordinated with and sync with, like when the lover is dancing, or lovers are dancing around the campfire. These were all sexual dances, by the way. They were intended to get people turned on so they could have sex as a community, right there and there. The whole community participated in these dances. So this wave-like motion is part of nature. There's a resting state, and then there's a agitation state. You drive up, 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 up. You climax at the top, and then you abate, and you go down. This is a wave that's universal in nature, not just in sex, but that makes all of nature sexual, because you've got this wave-like motion. We have a few words today that describe that, and one of them is masturbation. Masturbation is taking a mass, in this case your body mass, but it could be any mass. It could be any atom or particle or any mass, which usually has a form to it. Mass, and then you stimulate it, or you turn it on, you agitate it, you build it up, and that is called mass, turned, or like a turbine, turned on, agitated, aroused, stimulated, and then it climaxes at the top, and then it abates down. Bates means to fall off, back to the resting state. Those are the three stages of the process, and the best word that describes this in sexual terms is masturbation. It's a very honorable word, but it has a bad rap because it's been divorced from the love culture. It's been divorced and taken out of and privatized and shamed and guilt and all kinds of things that go with that from the group context of it, the social context of it. Masturbation was a social event where the sexual rites were performed in the small community by everybody. that wanted to participate according to their abilities and needs and desires. And people masturbated themselves, or they mutually masturbated, and then the whole group was involved in this sexual dance, probably preceded by dancing. The bodies were dancing, turned on. There were performances like to turn people on and to create not just a physical sensation, but a group energy and a feeling that was ecstatic. Ecstasy, in other words, that comes from the word stasis. You stand outside of your normal consciousness. So in these group sexual rites, it wasn't just the physical climax, but it was the emotional, that's where the love comes in, the emotional feeling that was created with the whole group. And it was ecstatic. It took you out of your normal consciousness into a sort of a transcendent state. Sometimes sex is called a little death. In other words, it was like a death. You lost your mind. You lost your normal consciousness in the act of climax, in the act of giving of yourself and giving of your fluids to the whole community. Now, we have a little bit of understanding of that. I don't think it's anything like they had, because their whole life was centered on sex. Ours is not. It's in the underground, but ours is about money, power, survival, getting on with, that kind of thing. But there it was a common event, and they did it for a purpose. They did it for this experience of love, this feeling. They could make love. They could physically and spiritually make love in that group setting. We get a little experience of it as individuals and couples, and maybe, sometimes we have sometimes group sex, usually called swinging or partying or something like that, but this was a sacred thing. This was a part of their culture, and was different than partying. It was very deep and very profound. And in this process, they contacted the greater world. They contacted the ancestors, and they transcended their normal consciousness. And this was a highly, highly desirable state. Today we have patriarchal shamans who might do it that way, I suppose, but most of them don't. They become hermits, or they go out in the wilderness and try to have their visions and their ecstatic experiences, and then they bring those back to the community. But that's a kind of a getting away from the original context of it, which was this community sex ritual, or the whole community came together. The women particularly would have been in sync. They menstruate together, they ovulate together, and they have sex together. And then the men are invited in. It's a woman-governed system, remember. Strange to us, but perfectly natural in the real scheme of things. Thank you then for joining us on this journey, and it is a journey. We're going into the heart of love. It's not all roses. There are a few thorns along the way, in fact more than a few, but it's sure worth the journey. It's very much worth it, and every little bit counts. Every person participating counts. So thank you for being who you are, and love, love, always more love. Thank you.